Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to also share, like, and comment.
Well, time and time again, the Inspector General of Police, every time he opens his mouth, has said the most outrageous things. Today, he's in the paper saying that the reason the opposition has stopped from having rallies is because the other side, meaning the UPND, can attack them. Now we've come to understand that UPND is a violent party.
By the way, there was no mention of the UPND in that.
Well, if he's going to say the opposition, the other side of the opposition means what? The other side of the opposition, IP, this is a very straightforward issue. So if he's going to say the other side of the opposition, he's obviously talking about the ruling party. And what we've seen lately, the other side, the behavior of the other side is that they have been insulting the former president. They have been out on the streets breaking people's vehicles. They've been out on the streets breaking people's shops. They've been out on the streets harassing people. We have seen so many videos in the last 1 week of the true character of the UPND cadres, or at least the coming in of cadreism as it is being defined in a loose sense, where it means those that are rowdy, those that are hooligans. Though he says that I will not allow those who are violent to be my supporters. He is not really strong on them. He is not identifying any one of them. He was able to say, okay, they were attending a burial of a colleague, may his soul rest in peace, meaning that he knows who they are. He knows who died. He knows who the cadres went for. He knows why they were behaving the way they were behaving, and he knows that they belong to the UPND. It is not just a matter of lip service for him to say, this is what's going to happen. The same way he's been saying, no, police, you do this. The same way he said, follow up that matter for that person who raided the police, is the same way he should have said, follow up each and every one of those that were walking the streets, causing confusion. He said quite a number of things that he ought not to have said as a president. It was not expected. So I was on the issue of Grafa Msamba. The president even goes to the extent, shockingly so, of saying if the police do not do their work, I will engage the army. That was a very reckless statement. That is how,
why do we say so? It's mandated.
That is how tyranny begins, because you can't unleash the soldiers on your citizens because the police have failed. The police have failed because there's Grafa Msamba there. Change the IG. Change the IG. It's that simple.
How many times is he going to change?
He's going to change for as long as the ones that are there are showing the incompetence that Grafa Msamba has shown. See, the problem is with the leadership, as it were. The leadership of the police has shown that this person who is there is so shallow in his thinking and is telling the president, I'm not allowing the opposition because your people can attack them. That is what he is saying. And the president is saying, no, I will not be supported by people who are acting in that manner. And yet, not too long ago, there was a statement by Trevor Mwinde and this guy saying, give us power. Let us allow us to go out there and do what we have to do. We sort out ACL. The same cadres are the ones that were saying, warning the police, warning Grafa Msamba and his police to say, hands off. Let us deal with this person. The moment they said that, we have seen all this violence creeping in. We have seen the insults creeping in. We have seen the UPND cadres carrying out processions, which he said are illegal when President Isiel walked in town. He said that was an illegal procession. What is he saying about the procession that his cadres took when they went to DEC the day Madam Esther Lungu was arrested? What is he saying about it? Why isn't he talking about that? What was happening yesterday, wasn't that a procession? What is he saying about it?
Basically, he has instructed the Zambia police to ensure that those men and women that disrupted or that were disturbing the people, they should be arrested. That's what the president mentioned in his speech.
Now, if you're going to rely on a president to give such an instruction, then you are incompetent. That's why I'm saying Grafa Msamba is the most incompetent IG I know that has ever existed in this country. Because now there's been an instruction from the president, yet the whole time, look at that procession at Drug Enforcement Commission. The police were there watching those guys walking the street and insulting, wielding pangas. The police were watching when one of them was moving around with that, what do you call it, a club or something? Yes, the police were watching. Yesterday, as those guys were being rowdy in the manner that they were, the police were watching. Those that came to court to cause disturbances at court yesterday when the 5 opposition leaders or opposition members were appearing at court, those were UPND members. The police were watching. Are we going to be segregative in the manner that we approach our affairs as a country? Are we going to be segregative in the manner that we deal with issues in this country? If the president has problems with the manner the police are conducting themselves, he knows where the problem is, but he won't address it. He won't address it because he bound himself when he said that the best IG he has ever appointed is Grafa Msamba. He wished he had appointed him earlier. And when we see Grafa Msamba behaving in the manner that he behaves, we take it that he has the blessings of President Hakainde Hichilema. You can't deal with such a thing with a mere slap on the wrist the way he did. That was just a slap on the wrist. You don't do that. And the president who takes things so personal, as if everything depends on him. Look at the curious case of Emmanuel J. Banda. What I'd expected is that the president was going to address the issue of the abduction of Emmanuel J. Banda. That was a topical issue that happened last week. He ought to have given the country some form of direction. Look at how he dealt with the issue of the cadres who were making noise just yesterday. He has all the information on his fingertips to say they were attending a burial of a member of UPND. Why doesn't he tell us how JJ was abducted? JJ's vehicle was found at a place which ordinarily would consider a crime scene. What we had expected is that the police would get to that scene without moving the vehicle, conduct forensics that they ought to conduct at the scene of the accident. But they didn't do that. The first thing they did, they moved the vehicle from the scene and took it to the police. Then at the police, that is where they dusted the vehicle for fingerprints and everything else. And they thought Zambians were so gullible to think that JJ could have committed suicide, to tell us that no, there was a suicide note in the vehicle. Therefore, this person could have committed suicide. How do you write a note, a suicide note, and smash your own screen? It defies all logic. And the reason the case of JJ is very curious is the manner in which the police have behaved as regards that incident. It may lead anyone to suspect that there is involvement of the state, hence the noise and the comments that followed after that. Even now, the matter is not being taken seriously. We expected the president to comment over it and give the country direction, give the country some hope to say we are investigating this matter. We want to know what exactly happened to JJ. What does he do? Instead, he's talking about JJ. He's talking about, no, I want that case reopened. How does someone go to the police and beat up the police officers? I expect that since he is president, he will have all the facts correct. To start with, even the issue of the police or the incident that happened at Central Police, he keeps saying it's JJ. But that's not the case. The matter went to court. When that incident happened, the matter went to court. The person who beat up the police officer admitted he pleaded guilty in court and was sentenced to 3 years. He served that sentence. JJ appeared in court, not because he beat up a police officer, but because he was amongst those youths that had gone to the police. And he was fined. He was found guilty and fined from exactly what had happened at that time. So that itself is a closed case. It's not a case that you can say, you do this. And that is the problem that we have with this president. He has a tendency of issuing instructions of what should happen to suspects. Now, when you do that, you take away the independence of the police. The police won't act independently. So you will see that the police are going to move and possibly effect an arrest without telling the president. That is, if he's ignorant of the fact that that matter is already done and dusted in the courts of law. It was in the High Court.
Are you telling me, Counsel, as you proceed on the story of JJ Banda, are you telling me and the people of Zambia that the head of state is not privy to all the information that you are sharing this evening, that matter was dealt with extensively by the courts of law and it's done and dusted?
It's
he has the Attorney General. You mean he doesn't receive information?
It's two things. It's either he's aware and he has chosen to ignore that for purposes of speaking his mind. Because you notice, if every time the president speaks, he speaks as though he's lecturing, okay? And everybody should listen. I'm talking here, everybody listen to me, this is what I have to say. And it's for that reason that I'm saying that everything that he says should be scripted. It should be scripted because the ones that are going to script what he's going to say are going to fact check everything that he's going to say. But things that he said today were not fact checked. If they were fact checked, he would have known that JJ did not beat up any police officer. He would have known that the person that beat up a police officer was sentenced to 3 years and served their 3 years. He would have known that that matter was concluded and there's no need to issue a fresh instruction. It's typical of this government, especially over JJ. That is why we must all be alert as to what exactly happens to JJ. JJ is still admitted in hospital right now. What he needs is the support of government, an assurance, not that window dressing which Kawana did, to say, oh, we are here and he's there with his 3 wives. It doesn't matter how many wives he has. But the issue is, this is a person who is not okay. This is a person who is being attended to medically resulting from an action of persons that have since come to be known. Because JJ himself has said these are the people that are responsible. And those people that he has mentioned are close to the president. Perhaps that's why the president has chosen to rubbish everything. And there's an attempt right now, if you notice, slowly to paint JJ black so that they can do whatever they want to do. I say this because both incidences, the one that was referred to by Lufuma, where he says, well, the investigations that the police are conducting in a matter that happened in 2016. How do you bring a person who was abducted and has been found? You take him in for questioning, you ask him about the abduction, he tells you the things about the abduction, then you start inquiring about an issue of 2016. And if they were diligent enough, they would have known that that issue of 2016 was also an issue that went to court. JJ was found guilty. And a penalty was imposed on him. So he can't be tried twice for the same offense. It's like I come today and say, okay, you have stolen this jacket, therefore let's go to court for theft. So we go to court for theft, you are found guilty, you serve your 1 year. Then afterwards you say, actually it was aggravated robbery. You used force when you were stealing that jacket, so we're taking you back for aggravated robbery. It defies all logic, and you expect that the entire system of government should be working as one and knowing what exactly should happen. But in this particular case, they are busy trying to paint JJ black so that when he comes out and says what he has to say, he is not believable. But Zambians are not gullible, and Zambians know what exactly is going on. Let JJ have his day to explain to all of us who are curious about what's happening. Lawyer MAKEBI speculated and said it was a PF agenda. It was choreographed by PF. And people are curious. They're saying, there's this story. This person says he was abducted, and he has identified the people who have abducted. There's this one who prior to the event was saying that it was choreographed. And then we have the whole Minister of Home Affairs saying he had no physical injuries. Then we have the superintendent for Mainasoko saying he was bruised. He had bruises on his back. And if those were noticeable, And obviously, the very fact that it's being taken care of in hospital shows that there is something wrong with this person. Otherwise, the doctors would have told us there's nothing wrong with him. But there is this urgency on the part of UPND and government to want to justify or at least to clean face by demeaning what happened to JJ, a member of parliament for that matter. You don't abduct a member of parliament and ignore it. If at all there was one thing that the president ought to have addressed, that was the only thing that he should have addressed. Because that is the thing that has been pending this whole time. But instead, he window dresses everything, talking about the 5-year issue. No, you'll be tried in 5 years. All that is targeted at one person.
How can the issue of JJ Banda be handled at this particular point? Because you are aware, Council, that it's a complicated, seemingly, matter where we hear Honorable J. Banda named some senior State House officials in the name of Honorable Levingoma. Also, Clayson Hamasaka has been named in that saga. We bring in also Trevor Mwinde. Of course, we'll have a video later on as the program progresses. These individuals were named according to his lawyer.
Yes.
A day later, the accused, the named individuals, they also proceeds going to the police to report another person in the name of J. Banda for defamation. So the question is, how will this matter, or how should this matter be handled?
And that's a very curious issue that I'm looking forward to. I want to see what the police will move on first, because the police have been told, they've asked questions as regards the abduction, and they have been told that this is the information. Now, the persons that have been named are obviously supposed to be suspects in this particular case, and they ought to be treated as suspects. Now, these suspects have gone to report to the very police to say, we are reporting for these people for defamation. We've been defamed. This is criminal libel. Now, the police will have to decide. If they're going to pursue the libel issue, they should only do so after concluding the investigations on the other side.
That's
as regards the abduction. Because that is the issue that has come in. And this person says, these are the people. It means that they become subject of investigation. And if they're subject of investigation, I wouldn't be surprised as to the urgency with which they went and said, no, this is libel. But the issue is, have the police interviewed them? Have the police taken statements from them? Have the police found out where they were on that particular night? Have the police found out where exactly Trevor Mwinde was on that particular night? The night JJ went missing and the night JJ was found. Where were these people who were named in this particular case? That is the job of the police, which they ought to carry out and inform the nation at every stage, because the reason there seemed to be so much tension is because the police were not providing any answers. Now the president is providing answers over an incident of yesterday, but is not providing any clue or answer as regards what happened to Honorable JJ. He's not. So all that is giving us an idea that the president is simply not ready to appreciate the rule of law, which he talks about. He pays lip service to the rule of law, but then puts a blind eye to it. He talks about it the most, and it's implemented the least in his governance so far. By the way, we're only remaining with 1 year and 11 months before dissolution of Parliament. And a lot of things are only getting worse. What we expected of him is to be able to address the very important issues. I laughed today when he was addressing the issue of the IMF monies and all, to say, we have negotiated and they're going to increase it by, is it $400 million? And we'll be getting $400 million. You look back and say, okay, did the National Assembly approve the borrowing of $400 million? Because that's also borrowing. And he says this is going to go towards the effects of drought Now, when he talks about the effects of drought, he goes ahead and justifies and says, no, this issue of drought is not man-made. It is something, it's an exogenic phenomenon, meaning that outside factors that have affected it. And every Zambian
Which is
knows.
true, right?
No, it's not true. Every Zambian knows that there was 1.3 million metric tons of maize, which they sowed. What exogenic circumstances are those? When we were food secure, they said we're going to sell. Mutolo was in parliament saying we are selling maize. In fact, we will mill and sell it as minimum because we have enough stock to last us a long time. Zambia will not starve. And the next thing, the president comes with a tail in between his legs and saying, we have a national disaster in the name of hunger, and we need support. First of all, he should have apologized to say that, okay, we did not practice good leadership, as it were, and therefore we sold what should have been kept, what should have been reserved, we sold, and we are in this crisis, okay? Or we didn't pay attention to the warnings that were there, because the warnings, weather forecasts are almost always there to tell you, okay, this is the pattern of rainfall. And the time ECL was in government, he was trying to put up a 10-year plan as regards that. The idea was to grow our reserves to about 3 million metric tons of maize. And that is what we should have been doing, increasing and not necessarily reducing in order to increase, as the vice president would put it. Or increasing in order to reduce, as it were. But all these things, I'm saying that he missed an opportunity. He missed an opportunity to give hope to the Zambians in his leadership. He missed an opportunity to show leadership in the manner that he dealt with these issues. And he's talking about tribalism and his views about tribalism. He missed an opportunity to clean up his name. Because
and also talking about tribalism, I think we might be anticipating a very interesting parliament or sitting as soon as the parliament opens, because he didn't mention that the laws must be, or they might be stiffened going further to ensure that anybody that propagates or promotes or instigate tribalism, the punishment must be very stiffer.
I think there is a very big difference between being tribal and talking about tribalism. If you've noticed, most of these people that are talking about tribalism are being charged with things like hate speech, seditious practices. There is no offense in talking about tribalism. But this administration is trying to criminalize talking about tribalism. What they should be doing is criminalizing tribalism.
What do you mean there?
Look, this is what I mean.
Try to simplify it in a layman's language.
If in the manner that you run KBN is such that all the people that you are employing are coming from one tribe or one section, we would be right to say you are practicing tribalism, because you are deliberately choosing a certain class of people to be part of this organization. Now, what is happening is that in the event, if I gave a KBN example, in the event that you employ, say, people, I am Kunda, right? And if I owned KBN and I employed most of my staff who are Kunda, if you come up and say, you are employing Kundas, or the majority of the people that you've employed are Kundas, that is what is being criminalized. Right. What the government is trying to tell you is that, shut up. If you see it, look away. You mention it, you have committed an offense. Today, the president himself was saying, let us not allow what happened in Rwanda to happen in Zambia, because it began with such talks. There is a person who spoke in the same manner, warning that that should not be the case. What has happened? You are being tribal. So assuming that the president was not president, and he said what he said, would we expect that tomorrow he'll be appearing at the police for that particular warning that he gave? Because most of the people that are being charged with that are warning that we should not go in that direction. If we do, what is likely to happen is this and this and this and that. But what is happening is that there is a shift to try and rule by way of propaganda. And if you have a government that insists more on propaganda than on actual and factual issues, then you have a problem. The issue of JJ is propaganda, that is, it is being veiled in propaganda. When issues are coming out, the government is downplaying them and amplifying the fact that, no, this person is supposedly a thug. This person supposedly did this. They should go ahead and set their facts right. If you are saying that this person did this person is a member of parliament. How is it that he has made it to be a member of parliament? What happened to those offenses that is accused of having committed in the past? If they were diligent enough, they would come to a conclusion that he is not everything that they've said he is. But the very fact that he's close to President ECL, then they have a problem. Because it appears as though everyone who comes close to ECL is being a victim of this government. It means that the police will call them the very next day. And that is not fair. That is not the manner in which we ought to be handling national affairs. The president should rise above all these things and be able to put the country first. Not everything to be circling around himself. It appears to me that even when he's talking, he talks as though he's the most intelligent person in the room. Look at what he said, and wants Zambians to believe. He said, I was put on death row. What death row was he put in? President Hakainde Hichilema has never been on death row. Those who are on death row, at least was the time...
Let's define what death row is.
It means that you have been convicted and sentenced to hang. You've been sentenced to death. President Hakainde Hichilema has never been sentenced to death for him to be awaiting to be executed as by law established. That has never happened. So to authoritatively say that I was put on death row is a lie. So to simply come up and say such a lie with a straight face is problematic for a person who is president. It's for that reason that I still insist that this president must be scripted at all times. He must be able to read things that have been fact-checked, and you should be able to do that. You can't even make a reckless statement to say, if the police can't do this, then I will get the army to do. You can't unleash the army on your citizens because the functions of the army are known. The reason it's established is to protect the sovereignty of the country, the territorial sovereignty of the country. And also, if there's national emergencies, then they can be enlisted to try and help in the national emergencies. I would agree with him on one condition. Grafo Msamba is a national emergency. Maybe that's the only reason it should enlist the army. It's a national emergency because he has been reckless in the manner that he's dealt with the opposition. It's a national emergency because he himself has said that the ruling party is violent. They are likely to attack the opposition if in the event that I allowed a rally. He has said quite a lot of outrageous things.
You were just adding more salt to the wound, because earlier on you issued a very strong statement by describing Grafo Msamba as an incompetent, IG.
Yes, he is incompetent.
Again, you are coming back and you are saying IG is
Hasn't
a national disaster
today
or national emergency. Are you able maybe to withdraw some of the strong ways?
No, I can't withdraw. Listen, isn't it Grafo Msamba who said that he isn't allowing rallies because the other side may attack the opposition?
He was quoted.
Yes,
he was quoted. Yeah.
He was quoted as having said that. Yeah. What does that say about his competence?
You tell me. You are here.
Exactly. And what I'm telling you is that he's incompetent. So that extent of incompetence where you will see cadres from the UPND carrying out that procession, insulting the former president, and you do nothing about it. We had a case recently where our brother Amos Chanda was taken to court and convicted for use of insulting language. What were the police doing when those guys were insulting? They were just watching. They were just watching. And yet, if it is the other way around, they move in with haste. Just people going to IBEX police to say, give us answers. What is going on over the issue of JJ? Those people were tear-gassed. People who were not violent at all. People who were not using insulting language. People who only wanted answers. The last 1 week has been very interesting. We had Mrs. Nawakwi remanded at Charleston. The effect of Madam Nawakwi being remanded at Charleston was that the gate at Charleston Police was always closed with a police officer manning the gate, scrutinizing each and every person that is going to the police station, a public place which is open to any member of the public. I went to see Munir at Central Police. I found the gates closed and manned by the police. And the police had the guts to ask me what I was there for. Each and every person entering the police station is being asked what they were there for. Is that what should happen at a police station, a public place? The last 2 days, if you went to court, the gates at the magistrates complex were closed, being manned by the police, asking each and every person entering that premises what they were going to do. Today, they even had a list of persons that were to be allowed to drive through that road that leads to the magistrate's court. Even asking what your name is, do you have an ID? Is that what we have come to? This state has become a police state. And all those things are things that should have been addressed. Is there something that is going on?
To the contrary, President Hakainde Hichilema strongly believes that the country is far much better than it was today. He did actually even give an emphasis that the Patriotic Front had run down this economy and the country in general. There was no order whatsoever.
See, the problem is when you tell a lie so much that you yourself begin to believe in it, you want to say it so much thinking that people are gullible enough to believe your lie. That is where the problem is. To say, you see, they over-exaggerate this issue of what used to happen during the time of PF. To say every day there was bloodshed, people were being killed. Listen, if there was such a thing, that was probably going to be the first thing he was going to do. Because his attitude and everything shows that this is a person who's thirsty for revenge. He says the opposite, but the acts or what he does shows that this is a person that is thirsty for revenge. This is a person that is thirsty, and they exaggerate things. The only thing they'll talk about is, no, these people used to beat you. These people used to kill you. People were being killed every day.
He mentioned that he was arrested 15 times.
Yes, he was.
Something quite unprecedented.
He was arrested 15 times, if at all he was arrested 15 times. Ask him what happened those 15 times. He's not saying what happened those 15 times. He was arrested. That issue in Mongu that happened, perhaps charging him with treason may have been overstated, as it were, but what he did, every Zambian, including himself, agrees that that was a wrong move. If that was done to President Hakainde Hichilema today, if President Edgar Chagwa Lungu dared to do that to President Hichilema, it would be a different story altogether. What would have expected is him to put it in this context. What I did in Mongu was not correct, but perhaps the severity of the charge I was given may have been too much. Maybe I should have been given a traffic offense. And the state would probably answer and say, listen, you endangered the life of a president. And the law is that every time you hear a beacon, or there's a beacon or a siren of an ambulance or a presidential motorcade, you give way. Did he give way? No, he did not give way. he should be man enough to be able to accept that there was wrong on his part. But he shifts all the blame to the other side, as though he was just seated drinking tea and someone came and said, you are being arrested. Everything should be put in the rightful context, because people are not gullible to simply believe that PF was bad. But now people are comparing, okay, listen, there is this bad that you say used to exist. What have your cadres done? This is what they have done. This is not right. This is not good. It shouldn't be the case. But what does he do? He downplays that. He makes it about himself. Those people, though they support you, the conduct that they've exhibited is an illegality. Let the police deal with it. Not at your instruction, but because they have done something wrong. The court processes should not go on with this issue of 5 months at the instruction of the president, but because it's expedient that it should be so. And to be the one to dictate what should happen, because now he says, police, deal with that matter. Now I'm setting up a commission of inquiry. Chief Justice, set up the Economic and Financial Crimes Court, and everything is happening in that manner. I think the president should have been properly oriented, that your power only goes so far. There are certain things that you can't do. Because the moment there's a presidential pronouncement over a particular thing, people listen to what he says. He has found a lot of people guilty merely by talking about them. And these are people who are going to appear in court. And these are people where the police have to investigate. And the police, whether they have evidence or not, have ended up simply arresting people and taking them to court to say, well, let the courts be the ones to discharge this. I don't want to lose my job, because the president thinks that they are guilty, therefore they are guilty.
Let's look at the pronouncements, Council Zulu, in which the president, I remember very well when he came into office, I think he did express concern that we've seen that cases are prolonging, are taking too long in these, corridors of the judiciary. So we need to ensure that we quickly come up with mechanisms or possibly measures of ensuring that the cases are quickly expedited. Because remember, you lawyers, you tell us, and also that's what the president has been talking about, who has been concerned, that justice delayed is justice denied.
And justice hurried is justice denied. So there
so
has
he
to
comes
be,
in now to set up, for example, the court, the crimes court, so that a fast-track crimes court, whatever how you call it, in order to have these cases be dealt with as soon as possible. But again, you are here, you are still complaining.
See, the issue is this. What was the measure of coming up with 5 months? What were the considerations that you would deal with the case effectively in 5 months and conclude? The only reason the president is interested in these cases taking 5 months is because he has an interest in those cases. He has an interest in those cases because, according to him, he has already found these people guilty. In not one occasion, he refers to most of the people to say, no, they were stealing. So as far as this is concerned, they were stealing. He comments on matters that are active in court. He comments, passes verdicts over these people. And it is not about whether it is feasible or not. It is about when he wants to have answers as regards the guilt of the people that are going there. The examples abound of cases that have gone to court on evidence that is just not there. Where an officer comes to court and says, okay, there is this issue. I'll give you an example of the case of Given Lubinda, where Given Lubinda gets a loan from this person. They even execute an agreement. The investigating officer checks the agreement, confirms that there's a loan, asks the other person, what happened in this transaction? The other person confirms and says, I got a loan. But when this officer comes and says, I didn't believe him, okay, what about the person from whom the loan was gotten from? I didn't believe him. Then the person is acquitted. So with that, you have people going to court where there's little or no evidence, but for purposes of persecution. And the president was right when he said, we shall persecute and prosecute you. But the role of the state is never to persecute. You prosecute based on available evidence. If there is no evidence, you simply say, there is no evidence to prosecute. And that enhances professionalism in the police, professionalism in the National Prosecutions Authority. But all these things are becoming extinct. Professionalism is becoming extinct in the police, extinct in the National Prosecutions Authority, because they have to work on instruction. And the greatest asset that a lawyer and a police officer have is their judgment. The moment you lose your judgment, you should stop being a police officer.
How possible that these matters can be, dealt with within a period of 6 months? I bring in this question because we've seen some concerns. We've covered these stories where people tell you that it's not possible because some of the judges or the magistrates, they are overwhelmed with cases, for example. Vis-a-vis, we talk about the conditions of service of some, people in the judiciary. We've had these lamentations coming from State Counsel John Sango as well, who's been advocating to ensure that the people in the judiciary are well taken care of in terms of the conditions of service.
See, the issue.
So putting all these pieces together, how possible that these matters can be dealt with within 6 months?
Okay, let's put it in this context. The issue of conditions of service, let's put it aside.
Right.
Let's look at the efficiency of the system. You have told the judiciary that prioritize these matters. We have made you the Economic and Financial Crimes Court. Prioritize these matters. Right. And in prioritizing those matters, you've even gone to the extent of saying, deal with them in 5 months. Now, each case is different. The evidence is different. There is documentary evidence that has to be gone through. Okay? There are witnesses who are pretty much long. You cannot decide how long a witness should be on the stand because their story may be long. Even if the story may be short, you cannot decide how long the cross-examination could be. There are people that have been on the stand for cross-examination for days on end, months on end, because there are issues to be dealt with. But to give a timeline to say it should be done in this may result in an injustice being occasioned. Because the issue is that if the concentration will be on the time and not the process, we'll have a problem. What delayed most matters in the subordinate court is that the subordinate court had been designated as a place where trial is by ambush. You, the accused person, as you are going to court, you don't know what evidence is going to be presented. The good thing is that now you are made to know what evidence is going to be presented in this Economic and Financial Crimes Court. But even when you have that, the Constitution says you must be given enough time and facilities for dealing with your matter, for putting up your defense. How much is that time? That is based on a case-by-case basis. And it should not be you have 5 months, and then after 5 months you have to report why you have not concluded. You can't give a magistrate or a judge the issue to say, you explain why you didn't conclude this matter in this time. And the magistrate shouldn't be put under pressure to say, if I don't finish this matter in 5 months, then I'll have to report why I did not finish. Where is the judicial independence that is guaranteed by the Constitution? Because every magistrate, every judicial officer, every judge must have judicial independence to deal with the matter correctly in the manner that that judge or magistrate deems fit. If you limit them in the, or you want to regulate the time frame and the manner in which they are to deal with those issues, it may result in an injustice. There he is. Himself, he cries over the 14 days. Now, we have to sit down to say, are we serious when we say we have to deal with this matter in 14 days? Are we serious when we say we're going to deal with this matter in 5 months? What is reasonable on a case-by-case basis? We have to look at all that, and not an imposition, especially if it comes from a pronouncement from the executive, then the judiciary implements. Then we have a problem. The independence of these wings of government should be seen, but this time the lines are blurry. The legislature, the judiciary, and the executive, you do not necessarily see what the difference is. It's like what the executive wants is what certainly goes in these wings of government. And that should not be the case.
So basically, you don't see, this wish by the president to have these matters be dealt with within 6 months, you don't see it being possible or being feasible?
What I see is that it will result in more injustices than justice being done. It should not be a pronouncement by the president. See, all these things that are going on right now, all this tension, all these things put together are like COVID. See, when we had COVID, if you were not affected, it was something that was happening to other people. But sooner or later, everybody will be getting affected. Everybody will be getting affected. So far, the church has been affected because of the misrule that is going there, because of the heavy-handedness that is going there. He was talking about the CSOs, don't hide behind the church, don't hide behind these things. It's because they know what they've done to the church. They know what they've done to the CSOs. They know what they've done to different people, or the pressure that they're exerting. People are now afraid to talk. Innocent, we have people that would rather talk on WhatsApp than on a straight call, because they're afraid. I get calls where people are saying, let's go to the other side, let's talk on WhatsApp, because they're afraid that their rights have been clamped on. They can't freely express themselves. Is that the country that we want to live in? An offense is not that which I do not agree with. The president should have a big heart, a big mind to contain things that are spoken, even against him. To suggest that anything that you do not like, because you have said something that I don't like, that's hate speech. Because you've said something that I don't like, that's seditious practice. Because you've said something that I don't like, that is libel or anything of that sort. So most people are being prosecuted because the executive, the government, doesn't like what they said. But the president should rise above and be able to protect your right to say what you want to say without necessarily agreeing with you.
Let me get an update. I know that last week you had a very busy day at the Drug Enforcement Commission.
Yes.
Representing your clients. That's the family of the former president, Dr. Edgar Chagwa. Tell us, what are the updates in that regards? How was the issue, apart from the noise from the cadres that we covered?
See, that's also an interesting issue, and that is why I'm saying that we err when we decide to politicize everything. The president repeated it today. Remember when he went for that launch of the National Anti-Corruption Policy document. They said, now people should not just lose the property, they should also go to jail. Something which he repeated today. To say, no, it is not just about losing the property, you will also go to jail. Now, with that instruction, DEC picks it up. DEC ordinarily ought to be independent. Anti-Corruption Commission ordinarily ought to be independent.
All right, just there,
yes,
Council, hold on your thoughts. Let's have a clip of President Hakainde Hichilema, just a snapshot of it, will be back shortly.
Great.
Thank you so much. That's part of the speech that was delivered. That's part of the speech that was delivered by President Hakainde Hichilema today. I have in the studio Counsel MAKEBI ZULU, of course, as my guest. You may proceed from where you ended from. I know you were talking about the Drug Enforcement Commission.
Yes, I was talking about the Drug Enforcement Commission and an update as regards that particular issue. So you ordinarily, these agencies ought to be independent. But the moment the president said these are going to be under the supervision of State House, he diluted them. He diluted their independence, such that now they have to dance to his whims and caprices. Whatever he says is what they will do. So we go to Drug Enforcement Commission, and obviously the clients are interviewed. I have permission to speak about this.
How many were those, by the way?
Well, the Lungus, as it were. Now, an interesting thing is...
When you say the Lungus, it appears it was the entire family.
It is the entire family. We don't even need to segment it. It is the entire family. See, the issue is that Mama Esther Lungu, for example, is said to have property suspected to be proceeds of crime. So you have this book with you, and I come to you and say, this is property suspected to be proceeds of crime. The duty that you have is to explain your source of the money that you used to acquire this book. And the police would have to see whether they believe you or they don't. And to determine whether they believe you or they don't, they have to follow up with what you said. So here is Mama Esther Lungu. Says, you have these 15 flats. We have checked your accounts, and we think you can't afford to buy this. And she tells them, you are right. I can't afford to buy this. The only thing I did, I applied for land at Ministry of Lands. These are the receipts I paid, which monies are well within my means. But my husband built for me. Here he is. The former president was there. Ask him. He will explain to you how he built. They asked, who was the contractor who built? She said, I have told you, the person who built is here, and he can explain. He's ready to explain to you. Ask him the questions. They said, you know we can't go that route. And the next thing, we are charging you and arresting you for the offense of being in possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime. By the way, these are the same matters that are before the High Court. You remember that 2 weeks ago, she was appearing before the same court, and she made an application to say, I want to call witnesses. And amongst those witnesses was President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. The court refused and said, we're going to go ahead with the judgment. Now, this is the same matter that is being brought before Drug Enforcement Commission, this time as a criminal matter. And an explanation has been given as regards that property. Even the children explained to say, listen, my father bought this for me. And the interesting thing is that when DEC is charging, they are saying, we got a valuer, a surveyor, and the surveyor says that this property is worth 26 million kwacha. Now, remember that a surveyor only guesses how much the property is. It is never the exact amount. And then an explanation is given to say, listen, this property that you are saying was bought by my father. It was bought by my father for me. And the monies that was paid was 3 million kwacha. The person he bought from, the person who sold this property, is this person and is available to be asked questions as to how much exactly the property costed. They don't even go and ask that person. They say, we are charging you for the offense of being in possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime. What we had expected is that they would go and ask ECL, it is said that you built these properties for these people. We have gone through your accounts and we have come to a conclusion that you can't afford. Where did you get that money? Because everything is now pointing at him. Now, this issue of trying to go after his children for purposes of getting to him, for purposes of injuring him, and then vilifying him as a bad person should not be tolerated. That is very wrong. President Hakainde Hichilema should stop this. He needs to stop this. He needs to promote reconciliation in this country. He needs to bring people together. He needs to be able to sit down with President Edgar Chagwa Lungu and say, how did you manage? You also had a drought, but you never went through what I'm going through. Edgar Chagwa Lungu will tell him, I never sold maize. This time around, keep the maize. Don't sell it, otherwise we'll starve. He would be in a position to advise him. President Hakainde Hichilema has never been president. We are fortunate that we have someone who's living who was president before and knows how to run that office. President Hakainde Hichilema would be told to say, these matters, when the police have done this, let them be. I was in President Lungu's cabinet, and there were certain appointments that were made where us in cabinet would be in a position to say, no, but that person is UPND. You can't appoint that person to that board. President Edgar Chagwa Lungu would tell us to say, the question is he qualified? Of course he's qualified, would have the CVs there, but he's UPND. But then he would say, can he do the job? And most of the people that were there, though he knew were UPND, he let them be there. If there's a person who's far from being tribal, it's President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. And every person that has worked with President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, he would tell you how he dealt with issues relating to competencies of people and where they come from. He was never in that category of people who look down on people based on where they came from. But now there are attempts to clothe it on him as though he's the cause of everything that is going on. But yet in this government, we have over 400 people that have been surrendered to cabinet office because they do not seem to be championing the cause of the government. They're being professional, so you put them aside. The only thing you have to do in this government is say that this person was PF. Once they say this person was PF, then you are surrendered to cabinet. We have this curious case of the registrar of societies. The issue of PF. That is an issue that I'm afraid that if SEC is allowed to work independently, PS Matembo would not be PS.
Why do you say so?
He would not be PS because when we made an application for the names at the Registrar of Societies to be availed to us as of the 13th of November, we went through the process. The first thing you have to do is pay the requisite amount. You are given an invoice. Well, you make an inquiry, you're given an invoice, you make the payment, you take it there, a printout is given out. When we went to get that printout after payment, Matembo, the PS for
Home Affairs,
instructed that that should not be done. The lawyers should not be given. When we got the order from court, we were given. That is the offense that the registrar committed. So now the registrar has been sent home. She is at home. Someone is acting in that position. The person who's in that position is getting paid acting allowance. The registrar is also getting paid. The over 400 people that are languishing at cabinet office that have been surrendered there are getting paid. And those that are acting in those positions are also getting paid. Shouldn't that be an audit query? Shouldn't that be raised by the Auditor General? Shouldn't those be the issues that we should be dealing with to say, this is where we're bleeding from when it comes to finances. These monies can be used towards mitigating the effects of the drought instead of getting yet another $400 million. So the president should be sincere in the manner that he addresses the country, the manner that he addresses people, and face facts as they are, face issues as they are, and make prudent steps towards that. See, a democracy is a marketplace of ideas. If you're going to close yourself up to say, I can only listen to these people, but even the people that surround him, I don't think the president is the kind that listens to them. I think you heard what Teles Wampundu said, that they had a meeting for 2 hours with him, and the whole time he's the one who was talking. I think if he listened just a little bit more, he would make a better president. And we wish for him to be a better president. By putting away all these petty issues, letting institutions of governance function independently, he concentrates on putting the economy back on its track and tell the Zambian people, my legacy is the economy. But today in his address, he says, lastly, let me talk about the economy. I thought it would be first. He should have talked about it first, because that's the most niggling thing, the most niggling questions as regards the economy.
I want to pick up calls, Council Zulu, but before that, I think just one question I hope you can answer within a minute. I know you went ahead of my script, but I'll still take you back to what transpired at the Drug Enforcement Commission.
Yes, and which is what I explained here.
Yes. How would you describe the whole incident, the whole script, and how it turned out in the process as you went to represent your clients? In the process, you seem not to be happy in the manner.
It is just what President Hakainde Hichilema said in Parliament. We shall persecute and prosecute you. And that is what he's doing to the former president.
Do we see the former head of state in the name of Dr. Edgar Chagwalungu maybe reconciling with the current head of state, looking at all this tension going on?
Let me tell you what I think.
Yeah, what should be done, really?
I don't think it's about President Edgar Chagwalungu reconciling with President Hakainde Hichilema. President Hakainde Hichilema needs to reconcile with himself. He needs to heal. See, everything is about him. Everything is about what he went through. He needs someone to sit down with him to say, listen, let's talk about what you went through. What are the things that you're saying you went through? What was the cause? What was the effect? How could it have been dealt with better? Because even when President Edgar Chagwalungu is quiet, there's reason to talk about him. He goes jogging. He says, no, you are a public figure. You can't be going around jogging. That is what his government is saying. You can't be going around jogging. That is political jogging. He goes to church. They say, you can't go to church. He just walks. He merely walks. And he's saying, you are inciting people. Things have not been the same in the place where you walked. You are inciting people. Does that mean that he can't walk? They even deliberately choose to misconstrue an innocent statement. When President Edgar Chagwalungu said, it's like I'm under house arrest. I go jogging, they say I can't jog. I go to church, they say I can't go to church. I talk, they say I can't talk. It's like I'm under house arrest. My freedom of movement is restricted. I expected the president to say, what do you mean when you say that? President Edgar Chagwalungu was going to say that, listen, twice I went to the airport and you stopped me from flying out. I was going for my medicals, you stopped me from flying out. I was invited at a church service in Ndola and you stopped me from going to church. The whole thing was cancelled. I tried to go jogging. You stopped me from jogging. He was going to explain that to me. And I understand this to mean I live a life as though I should not go anywhere. I can't associate with anyone. I can't be in a public place. It just defies all logic. Look at how stupid that police officer looked for going in a bishop's office and say, you can't hold a meeting. You didn't tell us. Then the next thing, Jack Mwimbu, another worst disappointment ever, comes and says, no, we want to provide him with security. You want to provide him with security? You are the one who withdrew his security. You said, you are in active politics, we have withdrawn your security. IG says, if we wanted to arrest him, we would use his ADC. But the ADC doesn't work for you. All that security which President Edgar Chagwalungu has is his own initiative, his own arrangement, and not the police. Why are you breathing hot and cold at the same time? You withdrew the security, and you want to say we are providing you security. Maybe I've come to an understanding today, after the IG said that it is because of the other side that the opposition are not being allowed. The security threat that we have right now is the other side, which we understand to mean the UPND. And that the president must address, because he only has 1 year and 11 months and is all alone. No minister will just be in a campaign mode. Everyone will be in a campaign mode. And then people will talk. Right now, people are quiet. And when people are quiet, don't think you have subjugated them. Don't think you have brought them under your control. They know how to speak. And when the time is right, they will speak. And when they speak, they may not speak in your favor. They will speak against you.
Council, permit me to just spend 10 minutes. We'll pick up some calls, and here I'll get feedback from the viewers. I have my first caller already. Caller, good evening, and welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving me a leeway.
Tell us your name, please, and where you're calling us from.
Yes, I'm a concerned citizen.
Where are you calling us from? Where are you calling us from, concerned citizen?
Yes, I'm calling from Eastern Province, Petauke.
Please go ahead, you've got a minute.
Yes, it's very true what the council is talking about. Very, very much true. In the sense that now the former president is really more like he's in the house prison. No movement, no whatever participation, no good air from the environment. What the government is doing is an injury, very, very deeper injury. They need to rethink and do what is correct, because each one of us is watching. And remember that Zambia is a Christian nation. In a Christian nation, we cannot have such people who can be in higher position and creating such a thing that can be a case even to the coming generation. So what the State Council is talking about is talking of a good and straightforward thing.
As you conclude, you may conclude.
Democracy in Zambia has been looted. There is no democracy and people are suffering. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. All right, you can call us. The number is right on the screen. I have Honorable MAKEBI ZULU, who is a renowned lawyer, of course, analyzing a number of issues pertaining to the press briefing or press conference, which the President Hakainde Hichilema had. Caller, good evening, and welcome to the program.
Good evening, please.
Good evening. Tell us your name, please, and where you're calling us from.
This is the farm of Mangala, senior citizen.
Senior citizen, please go ahead. You've got a minute.
Welcome to good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
I'm glad what you are saying is exactly what is prevailing in this country. But now, my question to you, sir, is, we have that kind of a president. You are not the only one that have heard such kind of view. Even from other citizens have complained the same. It's 1 month show. You think our citizens are free in this country? It's people like you who must give guidance. If you have a ruler who behaves in this way, citizens must react in such a way. I think such provision should be provided. Because surely, what is happening in this country is something that we've never seen before. I want wanted you to comment on UCA. What is UCA now today? Given this kind of a price, the master suspicion has been that it's the name instructing Musamba. Because I still recall this other one who was made Speaker for National Assembly, when he was on tour of Northern Province, he said, don't worry with what people talk about, just go ahead. You should not be worried.
You may conclude.
Instructions which have been given to Musamba.
You may conclude.
Don't allow them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, senior citizen. I appreciate you. All right, permit me, Honorable, to pick up 2 more calls. From there, you give your reaction. Caller, good evening, and welcome to the program.
Hello, Mr. IP. This is Banda Matias here in Kampala.
Go ahead, Mr. Matias.
Yeah, so, I'm very happy for what Mr. Hello?
Yes, please, who can hear you?
All right. What I want to say is that in our nation, things are not going well and things are bad. And my own warning to current president, President HH, that what he's doing to Mr. Edgar Dogwarungu, he's not doing against him, but he's doing against the nation, because the nation is the one who needs to. So whatever which Mr. HH is doing, maybe being organizing his youth to do such kind of bad things against him, after what I would say is that he's doing against the citizens of this nation. So what I want to say is that I can meet him fancy, otherwise something can happen early as possible, because us people outside here, we are not up for the way things are moving. If you talk about Tanzania economy, and I'm going to make a boza, members of parliament, well, the next to attack 3 quarters in my distance. Why? Tikangana was to come and terrorism. Could groups have been observed and observe? Could you make a practice terrorism? I mean, what kind of terrorism? But when I say perspective, I mean, I can act terrorism, so I'm going to give us a good point. But the next time I'm going to terrorism, I'm going to become a problem. Why is it so?
You may conclude.
So when you come about IP, but in the Matubao, about party, are controlling the promise of otherwise to go without a condom of score.
All right, thank you so much. We don't wish to have civil in the country, so let's ensure that we moderate ourselves. All right, this is my last caller. Caller, good evening, and welcome to the program.
I'm not state council. I can just call me Makebi or yes, or council. That will do. Yeah.
I'm back to the point that the president of Zambia, Mr. Kanti. I can see the there with the president. Now, what I will don't put in a matter of put in a super room, but very popular. To put everything on the room. The president, Zambia. This is my advice. Go up at the picture, not to take cover. I want to know Kudia. I want to run it. What do you do? Don't tell me what I can do. You put 1 hour, very good.
You may conclude.
But this was power. Let me pay the power to implement of power. So you have to rule now. It shall appoint. Not every time police. They don't put themselves honest. So you're not expecting. I don't know if you like it. You don't like it. But they don't pick up on people like me about Umlavas. You move a caterero. About what I'm going to say, more things they will put
right, thank you so much. Thank you very much, appreciate you. All right, let me just read a few messages that have come through my inbox. This one is saying, good evening, IP and Lawyer MAKEBI. What did the president mean by saying he's got people in all WhatsApp groups? Are we now in a police state? There's a question mark there, there's no name. Let me pick up some more text if I can. This is saying some people are senseless, just like the president was expressing himself today. He really showed hopeless the people of Zambia at a time when the citizens are suffering. He went on talking about ECL and the PF Kwamana. All right, thank you so much, appreciate you. This was saying, good evening, I'm Sam from Fulira. I'm a student at Kobabelt profession. I'm doing driving under CDF from February until now. Nothing has been done. Please, can you speak to Mr. Garin Kombo and his council to put his house in order? We've not gotten our monies up to now. All right. This is saying, IP, good evening, and Council MAKEBI, good program. Please keep it up. Respect. All right. Maybe you may just give your reaction as to what has come through. I know that this could be load shedding, trying to disrupt our interview, but we can conclude in the 10 minutes.
Let me conclude by saying that these sentiments, or perhaps I should have addressed the president. Mr. President, you have an opportunity to lead this country. This opportunity and this time of 5 years you were given is lapsing. You can do better if you stop concentrating on fixing others and fix the economy. You promised to deal with the issue of Milli Mill. You promised to deal with the issue of our economy to make the dollar better. You promised the farmers that you would improve their livelihoods in terms of inputs. You promised a lot of things that Zambians are looking forward to, which they have not seen. You lose the plot. You lose the game when you concentrate on things that you ought not to concentrate on.
Right.
Leave President Edgar Chagwa alone. Let democracy prevail. Learn from those that you believe have the best democracies and implement that in this country. And you will be appreciated. The trajectory you've gone on only leads to disaster. And you may not make it in 2026 on this trajectory. Let's please work for the people of Zambia and give them a Zambia that they want, not a Zambia of vengeance.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you for coming through.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Allow me to also thank all of you for having taken your time to send us some messages via our inbox and also our social media platform, KBN TV. Thank you so much. May God bless Zambia. May God bless Mother Africa. Good night.
What's up? My name is Ken Dumbo, the MC with the sauce. Don't forget to subscribe to J Cool.
Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, J Cool, and turn on the notification bell, cause I'm gonna see you in the next video.